Good evening, everyone. I'm just going to use this for fun because I didn't get a chance to. Welcome everyone to the beginning part of this is a public meeting for a zoning bylaw amendment. So this is in person and live streamed electronically. And I will open the meeting with our land acknowledgement with the council and staff of the Township of Montague acknowledge that the sacred land of which the Township of Montague is located, and this meeting held in the ancestral land of the unceded territory of the Algonquin and Ashabi Nation. So I have to read a long statement here about this public meeting, so bear with me as I go through it. So the purpose of this meeting is to hear the following application for zoning bylaw amendment ZB23-001, 401 0868 Canada Incorporated. The planner will provide a brief overview of this file. The applicant will be given an opportunity to explain the need for the zoning bylaw amendment. Then any person or public body in opposition and in favor of the application will be heard. If a person or public body does not make an oral or written submission at a public meeting or does not make written submissions to the Township of Montague before the bylaw is passed, the person or public body may not be added to the hearing of an appeal before the Ontario Land Tribunal unless, in opinion of the tribunal, there are reasonable grounds to do so. If you wish to be notified of the decision of council with respect to the below listed application, you must submit a written request to the clerk, or you must sign the attendance list provided at tonight's meeting. This will also entitle you to be advised of the possible Ontario Land Tribunal hearing. The clerk must provide notice of council's decision to all those who request a copy within 15 days after the day of the bylaw is passed. An appeal of the tribunal may be filed with the clerk of the Township of Montague by any party entitled to do so no later than 20 days after the day that the decision was given. The notice of appeal must set out the objection by the bylaw and the reasons in support of the objection, accompanied by the required fee. So at this point, is there any disclosures of pecuniary interest and general nature thereof? We say no. Is there a motion for approving the agenda? No. Approve the agenda, okay. And then the applications. So right now, I guess we move into the first part is the planner review and proposed bylaw amendment. So take it away, Kirsten, thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Good evening, Council, members of the public. The applicant has applied for a zoning amendment to change the zoning on the lands known as 401 Sturgis Road from the current zoning designation of rural to highway commercial special exception 2 to allow for an expansion of the self-storage facility that is currently in operation at 405 Sturgis and 12324 Highway 511. The property in question is approximately 1.37 acres in size and has approximately 80 meters of frontage on Sturgis Road. It is currently occupied by a dwelling, and as a dwelling is not a permitted use within the CH2 zone, which is the Highway Commercial Special Exception 2 zone, it is proposed to add existing dwelling to the list of permitted uses within that zone. As a result of circulation of this application, comments were received from VIA, RVCA, Enbridge, and the Township's Manager of Public Works. VIA had no concerns with this proposal, provided that the proximity guidelines to the railway were complied with, and RVCA and Enbridge had no concerns with this application. The Township's Manager of Public Works noted potential road impacts associated with this proposal due to a possible increase in traffic resulting in dust and potholes. And I'm not sure if the Manager of Public Works will be speaking to that later, but it could be noted as well that there would be an opportunity for a traffic impact assessment to be conducted as part of a site plan control application that has not yet been applied for. And since the applicant has not yet submitted an application for site plan, staff would deem it appropriate to add a holding symbol to this zoning designation that would be removed when the site plan agreement was completed. The development proposal submitted complies with the provisions of the official plan and zoning bylaw, and the notice requirements in the Planning Act have been followed. So at this point, I would open it up to the applicant if they had any comments to make with respect to this application.
Thank you, Kirsten. So I believe we have the applicant on Zoom with us today. So if the applicant could introduce herself and then also say her piece. Hold on just 1 second though, sorry.
Go ahead.
Good now? Okay, yeah, go ahead.
Thanks so much. Good evening, council and members of the public. And thank you, Kirsten, for your presentation. I think
sorry,
you
1 second again.
covered it. Yeah. Oh, sorry. I think I've lost volume now. Can you guys still hear me? Okay, I can't hear you, but that probably doesn't matter right now. I'll just proceed with the brief presentation. As I was just saying, I think Kirsten covered it perfectly. We have filed, sorry, I should say my name first, Allison Clark, and I'm representing the owner of 401 Sturgis. As Kirsten alluded to, the owner of 401 Sturgis is the same as the owner of 405 Sturgis. We have filed a zoning bylaw amendment to rezone this property to highway commercial exception 2 to match the zoning currently in place at 405 Sturgis. The owner of 401 Sturgis, as I said, is the same as what's at 405, and the plans are to eventually expand the Box Me Up business onto this property at 401 Sturgis. The zoning in place today doesn't currently permit self-storage, so hence the need for the zoning bylaw amendment. That's really it from me. Happy to answer any questions that either committee, council, or public have. Oh, I can hear that.
Thank you. At this point, I guess I'll reach out to council first, if there's any questions from council at all about this. I see no questions from council, and if there's any questions
Sorry,
from...
I do have one.
for sure.
I'm just wondering the other, just your comment about there's 2 residential properties and another commercial. Is the other commercial the other like half of this one? Okay, so it's the same sort of type of business. That's it. That's
Perfect. Yeah, that's great. Do we have any questions at all from the public? I see none from the public. Do we have any like online or submitted along those ways at all? So I guess
None for me.
And none from you too as well. All right, so at this point, we close the meeting. Or is it,
Yep, so we can adjourn.
so at this point, we'll adjourn the public meeting at 6:08. We can move into our regular meeting. All right. Give me 1 second.
Thank you, Allison.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you. All right, so I'd like to open our regular meeting now. So thank you everyone again for joining us, and I will start with our land acknowledgement again, that council and the staff of the Township of Montague acknowledge that the sacred land on which the Township of Montague is now located, and this meeting is now being held in the ancestral land of the unceded territory of the Algonquin and Ashabi Nation. Before we go into our moment of silence, one of the things that sometimes we think about tragedies or bad things that happen, but in this light, I want to touch on maybe a couple of things of positive notes. We had a recreation event for the Easter Bunny, which was a fantastic event, and I think those are really positive things for the township. And also, we have something with a walkway from that's going to join our seniors club to our Rosedale Hall discussion tonight, which is another sort of positive thing of moving a lot of good things forward. Which I think it's great to see that we're starting to see the positiveness of the community really coming back, and I think that's very encouraging sitting up here on council for sure. So those are some of the positive things I'd like to think about as we go into our moment of silence. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. So we have the adoption of the agenda. So moved by Councillor Abbas and seconded by Councillor Crabtree that the regular meeting of council agenda dated April 4th, 2023 be approved as amended to move items 8A, B, D, E, H, I, O, and P from information to action items. All in favor? That's carried. So the next part is moved by Councillor Crabtree and seconded by Councillor Kenny that the minutes of the regular meeting of Council March 21st, 2023 be approved as presented. All in favor? That's carried. Any business arising from those minutes at all? Any questions? Nothing? Good. Okay, moving on from that. We have no delegations tonight, so we're going to move right into our reports of municipal officers, and that is Allison on the asset management RFP.
Thank you, Chair. So in front of you this evening is a recommendation based on the RFP for updating our asset management plan to ensure that we meet the Ontario Regulation 58817 up to the 2025 regulations, which would be the completed asset management plan for us. We did put in the budget for 2023, $75,000 to be funded from the modernization reserve, which is funding that we receive from the province, the one-time funding to do these type of projects. You will see this evening that with the non-refundable HST and a accessible document, the RFP came in at $58,919.04, so substantially under what we had anticipated in our budget. We did get 2 RFPs submitted. They were scored based on a matrix that was included in the RFP. You'll see what the matrix was here in the report as well, and how it was scored. So the scoring did go to PSD Citywide Inc. We did follow up with references. They've done a lot of asset management planning. They also even have their own types of software and things like that. They're very, this is standard for them. So it is recommended this evening that we move forward with PSD, and it will begin the first week of May and should be completed by March of 2024, all things considered. They will also assist us in doing the public consultation and all those things as well for the asset management plan, updating.
Thank you, Allison. This is kind of exciting because I know Allison and Stephen have been looking forward to diving into this asset management plan to sort of clean up and to really take us to the next step of all of our assets and making sure that we are financially doing everything the right way and the best way. So this is I'm looking forward to going through this and also and getting to the final result of it too as well. So that's good. So on that note, I'll open up any questions at all as far as council goes, or I think it's pretty good. Yeah, so we'll move on from that. That's great. So we'll move by Councillor Kenny and seconded by Councillor Abbas. The council award RFP-AD-2023-001 to PSD Citywide Incorporated in the amount of $58,919.04, including non-refundable HST. All in favor? That's carried. So we'll move on to our reports from committees. So the first one is moved by Councillor Abbas and seconded by Councillor Crabtree that the council approve the minutes of the committee of the whole meeting of March 21st, 2023 and approve the recommendation contained within. All in favor? Any discussions or questions, anything from that at all? Perfect. Next one is moved by Councillor Crabtree and seconded by Councillor Kenny that council approve the minutes of the Montague Recreation and Culture Committee meeting of February 23rd, 2023 and approve the recommendations contained within. All in favor? It's carried. Any questions or comments? I see none. Moving on. Our next one is moved by Councillor Abbas and seconded by Councillor Crabtree that council accepts the Smiths Falls Library Board minutes from February 2023 as information. All in favor? It's carried. Any comments or questions from that one? I'm seeing none. And now we are moving to our bylaws. We have some developments and agreements. I just want to clarify anything that might be a question on that. The last name of the applicant is the same as mine, but I have no pecuniary interest whatsoever in these applications whatsoever. So that's why there is no need for the conflict of interest. So, moved by Councillor Kenny and seconded by Councillor Abbas that bylaw 3977-2023, being a bylaw to authorize the execution of development agreement with Vincent Charles Carroll, the owner of lands legally described as parts of Lot 29 and 30, Concession 7, Township of Montague, County of Lanark, designated as parts 1 and 12 on 27R-12033, be read a first, second, and third time and passed, signed, and sealed on this 4th day of April 2023. All in favor? That's carried. The second one is moved by Councillor Abbas and seconded by Councillor Crabtree. That bylaw 3978-2023, being a bylaw to authorize the execution of a development agreement with Vincent Charles Carroll, the owner of lands legally described as part of Lot 30, Concession 7, Township of Montague, County of Lanark, designated as Part 3 on 27R-12033, be read a first, second, and third time and passed, signed, and sealed on this 4th day of April 2023. All in favor? It's carried. Moved by Councillor Crabtree and seconded by Councillor Kenny that bylaw 3979-2023, being a bylaw to authorize the execution of a development agreement with Vincent Charles Carroll, the owner of land legally described as part of Lot 30, Concession 7, Township of Montague, County of Lanark, designated as Part 5 on 27R-12033, be read a first, second, and third time and passed, signed, and sealed on this 4th day of April 2023. All in favor? That's carried. Moved by Councillor Kenny, seconded by Councillor Abbas, that bylaw 3980-2023, being a bylaw to authorize the execution of a development agreement with Vincent Charles Carroll, the owner of lands legally described as parts of Lot 29 and 30, Concession 7, Township of Montague, County of Lanark, save and accept parts 1 through 12 on 27R-12033, be read a first, second, and third time and passed, signed, and sealed on this 4th day of April 2023. All in favor? That's carried. Thank you. Any discussion on any of those? Seeing none. Okay.
Yeah, no one.
I know. Well, no, those are all for him, but that was a different person, right? Yeah. Moved by Councillor Abbas, seconded by Councillor Crabtree, that bylaw 3981-2023, being a bylaw to authorize the execution of a development agreement with Robert Ronald Michaelis, thank you, the owner of lands legally described as parts of Lot 20, Concession 3, Township of Montague, County of Lanark, designated as Part 2 on 27R-11918, be read a first, second, and third time, pass, sign, seal on this 4th day of April 2023. All in favor? That's carried as well. Oh,
This information items.
oh, these are all the these are the information items. Okay, perfect. Yeah, okay. So that's perfect. We've got through all of the bylaws. Do we have any motions or notices of motions at all? I'm seeing none. Correspondence, action items, and then we're going to move into our information items. We have a bunch. Just for clarification, did anybody move any of the information items forward, or is this all on me? Okay, that sounds good. Perfect. Actually, the first one is just a support letter that I think is a no-brainer. I mean, it's basically the stopping harassment and abuse by local leaders. I mean, we all, I think, have read in the news about the situation that happened in Ottawa, and we know of other situations that have happened around too as well of maybe an abuse of power, abuse of what elected leaders will do in our municipal world. And there is not really an accountability to a point where they're held to the same standard as anybody else that would do something that's harassment in a sexual or in an abusive way in any way whatsoever. So I think it's something that should be, obviously I'm in agreement for supporting this letter. Basically it's for Bill 5 to stop that harassment. So if there's any discussion or points on it, or if we're all in agreement to support that I think we're all on the same page as far as treating the staff and each other with the utmost respect, no matter how much of a discussion point and anything else. So any agreement, all agreement on that, or okay, well, it's pretty easy as far as that goes. So I read all this, I guess.
Yep.
I'm sure, why not? Moved by Councillor Crabtree and seconded by Councillor Kenny, whereas municipality elected leaders do not have an appropriate accountability structure when it comes to perpetrating violence and harassment in the workplace. And whereas a fundamental underlying principle of broadening diversity, equality, and inclusion in the politics rests in the assumption the workplace is safe. And whereas Bill 5, the Stopping Harassment and Abuse by Local Leaders Act, would require councillors to comply with the workplace violence and harassment policies of the municipality they represent, permit municipalities to direct the Integrity Commissioner to apply to the court to vacate a member's seat for failing to comply with the municipality's workplace violence and harassment policies, as well as restrict officials whose seat has been vacated from seeking immediate subsequent re-election. And whereas over 20 municipalities have formally endorsed and communicated public support for Bill 5, and whereas Bill 5 would hold and accountable and protect all municipal officials, now therefore be it resolved that the Township of Montague Council express the support for Bill 5, Stopping Harassment and Abuse of Local Leaders Act. Further, this resolution be circulated to the Honourable Doug Ford, Premier of Ontario, John Jordan, MPP of Lanark, Frontenac, Kingston, Scott Reid, MP of Lanark, Frontenac, Kingston, and the Association of Municipalities of Ontario, and all municipalities. Are we all in favor? Yeah. Good. Thank you, folks. The other ones, I mean, the second sheet is literally I think a telling point to what we just talked about. So I just wanted to mention that as far as B goes, that's the Women of Ontario saying no for the overview of Bill 5. So please feel free to read that, just so we all know that. The next one that was brought forward was D. This one here was, it's brought up at the county, and I wanted to make sure I shared it down at our municipal level too as well. And it's really just about, as we move to like greener energies and everything else, there's a lot of battery storage options that could be out there onto land. And I remember I was at an AMO conference, the last one I believe, and they were showing, so like we already have our solar farms and that kind of stuff, but now they're showing there could be a field of batteries out there as where we're going to store power as far as that goes, so we can then feed back in the system. A couple worries of that obviously is making sure that will they truly be environmentally friendly? Will there be a problem if there's a leak or disposal of those at the end of those battery lives too as well, affecting our groundwater and also, but more importantly with the OFA is our farming land, and also making sure that we're not giving up farmland in order to put those things on there too as well, because that could also add toxicity to the land and then make that land now not really farmable at all in the future. So it's more just talking to the leaders to make sure that when we're in the future this stuff is coming like to us, that we're being aware of it, and we are asking all the questions to make sure that it's going on land that's maybe unfarmable and more suitable for that, and also like, you know, watching what the rock structure might be, if anything else, if there was leakages into our waterways too as well. So it's just more of an awareness piece that was part of the county, and I think it's you know, obviously very important to our level as we may see these things coming in the future. There's no resolution for that. It's just more of a discussion point. If anybody has any comments or points or anything like that, but it's just more of just to make sure that we're aware of it. The next one too as well is, once again, I just want to make sure that we're getting stuff that sometimes happens at the county. It's made aware of for our local leaders and also the members of the public that are interested too as well. And a lot of it, this one is a media release just talking about the homelessness prevention, which is important, but also in you know, deep in that one too as well, it talks about I think it's this one anyways, make sure I'm on the right page here. The housing assistance programs and everything else. So we may have people out there that are on our lower income brackets that may be hit with an emergency repair, or their septic goes and they literally do not have the financial means to deal with that. There is money that the county has that we all pay into, that's there for supporting some of those people that are maybe in the most vulnerable situation. So it's one of those ones to make sure that we're all aware of it here, and also like as much as we can tell the public too as well, that if you were in dire need and you were in a lower income area, there could be opportunities for us to be able to help you. And really, it'd be nice to make sure that if there's money that's from the county that we're all paying to, and it can help our neighbors, we want to make sure that that money is there, and we're at least able to advise them or help them, access that if they have a need for it. So I want to bring that up because it's something that we've approved the county. Like, and we're in the, there's $500,000 there for that, and we've approved $1 million for other things for homelessness and making sure we're keeping people. The last thing we want at the county, we talk about that is seeing homelessness drive because people have to be pushed out of their homes. So once again, just information from that I think it's important for us to all know coming from the county. Any comments, just please let me know as I keep going. The next one is a letter of support. Yeah, so the letter of support, and this is really from the rural FASD group that wants to, they're looking at grant funding for age-friendly community. In that spirit, especially with our Forget Me Not Club and our seniors and everything else, we want to support anything that they can do to bring any services, anything that we can to help our seniors for sure. And the rural FASD is a very local to us place too as well. We have a Montague connection to it. So anyways, this is one of those ones where I'm just looking for council to say, can we support their sort of letter? The staff will write up a letter just supporting them going after grants for the age friendly. And hopefully that can be a positive effect for our community. That's fine. That's good for you guys. Okay, so moved by Councillor Kenny and seconded by Councillor Abbas. The council direct the clerk to prepare a letter of support as included in the April 4th, 2023 agenda from our RAFSD. And the council directed the Reeve or Deputy Reeve to sign a letter of support. All in favor of that one? Perfect. Thank you. Oh yeah, the spring event. Yeah. The last one, and is about the spring event, the economic benefits of rural recreation and leisure services. This is a very worthwhile event that I believe Val went to when she was on a rec last year, and I've heard a rumor that Maggie is going to this too as well. The spring event, the economic benefits of rural recreation and leisure. So I mean, I think it's a great event that really just kind of helps talk about the importance of recreation. I missed that. The importance of recreation in our community, and obviously it's open to councillors too as well. So like, I mean, obviously our members that are on the rec committee too as well. But if there's other people that are on the rec committee that would like to go, I think it would be a benefit for sure to see a lot of the benefits of keeping a very recreational community. So that's just a plug for that. I mean, and we'll go from there. I think that's all the information items. Oh, I missed those two. Sorry. No, there's a couple more. Sorry. Yeah. Oh, yeah. A couple of important ones there. Yeah. One real quick one there. So we just we hired at the county a new tourism coordinator. I have not met her yet, but I'm looking forward to it. The last one was there for I think she was there for 12 years. She's moved to the town of Smith Falls. Joanne Plotz, and she was fantastic when she was there. So it's just more of another avenue for us too as well when we're thinking of recreation stuff and tourism stuff. We do have a contact or a person there in the county that can support us with that. So as we're thinking of ideas, maybe hey, we should reach out to that person. Once again, we just hired a new person, so it's a good time to kind of maybe talk about how we have somebody there that is dedicated to tourism that we have access to too as well if we're looking for that too as well. So that's a good one. And the last one is the Andersville Bridge. I'd like to think most people know what's going on with that in the township, but it's going to come to a critical point in our next county meeting. So obviously if you're, we want the support for that. We don't want infrastructure closed down in our community. I have yet to hear of something in Lanark County being closed down, a piece of infrastructure being closed down. It still is a viable bridge that is needed to get people back and forth between the two counties. It's near the end of its life for sure. And this letter basically is just the consultants that looked at that one last time, or to reopen it this year. And there's a big talk about the strength of this bridge. And also a big concern too, as well as the talk and the recommendation is to turn it into a walking bridge. But one of the major concerns, even from this, is the rock stone walls, which they're like saying, we just don't know how much longer this could last. So like the decision of going to a walking bridge that's being proposed could be like next year, well, you know what, we can't use it anymore. So like it's not really a solution. So like we've been actively trying to make sure we have an actual solution. So this is the letter just kind of saying how really I think this letter even states that going to a walking bridge is not a benefit, and that we need to talk about how we're going to do a replacement and then kind of move on. So if anybody has any comments about that at all, or comments, that's kind of Karen and I's big discussion up at the county as far as that infrastructure goes, and I think we want to make sure that we're keeping that infrastructure open. Date of the meeting would be April 19th, whatever, 2 weeks from now. So please tune in, and if you have any comments or anything else, I would strongly take them and encourage them, so we can make sure that council as a whole at the county makes the right decision to replace that bridge, so it's there for the next 80 years and we don't have to continue this discussion, which has been going on for more than a dozen years. So it's unfortunate that it's gone this long. So thanks everyone for listening to me through all of that. And at this point, I guess we have any unfinished or other business at all? Doesn't look like we do. I'll fire any questions out there from the public at all. I see one. Yes.
What is an asset management plan? Why does it take 3 years to complete? What is it?
So if I can,
yeah.
so we have an asset management plan currently from 2016. It basically lists all of the assets of the township, their value, their expected replacement date, that expected cost. So it sets a long-term capital financial plan for the municipality. It does not take 3 years to complete. We'll be starting it in May and it'll be completed by next March. So you have to take an inventory, engineers come in and look at all the buildings and give quality information. They're gonna set the 3 years, I think that you're referring to is the OREGs were implemented, giving municipalities time to implement the asset management plan. We're small. There's cities that have substantial infrastructure, and you have to list everything that you have with replacements. So for some organizations, it's gonna take longer than others. In this, with the new OREG up to 2025, there's gonna be levels of service set. So are we happy with our current level of service? This is what it would cost to continue our current level of service. Do we want to up our level of service? These are the costs that it would take to increase your levels of service and what that would mean as an impact on residents of this township. Kind of a Coles Note version of what an asset management plan is.
I still don't know. Okay.
So just to clarify, so buildings, roads, trucks, equipment, everything is in our plans on our website right now, the 2016 version. It's just not up to date. It doesn't meet, it's not gonna meet the OREG, the Ontario regulation come 2025. So we're gonna update it and make sure that it meets that requirement. That's how we get funding. We actually have to submit the asset management plan to the province to get some of the funding that we get from the province.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
We pay a little to get a lot more back.
that's right.
Or some more back. I wish there was a lot more back. There should be a lot more back. So, yes, sir.
Is the crossing in regards to the walkway across still on the agenda for the,
That's on the cow. That's on the
Yeah,
cow.
next meeting.
Yeah,
okay,
yeah.
thank you.
Any other questions at all? Anything from the online world?
I have nothing.
Nothing from the online world. All right. So we are going to close the meeting, I guess. Yeah. So, moved by Councillor Abbas and seconded by Councillor Crabtree that bylaw 3982-2023, the bylaw to confirm the proceedings of council at this regular meeting held on Tuesday, April 4th, 2023, be read a first, second, and third time and passed, signed, and sealed this 4th day of April 2023. All in favor? Carried, thank you. And this is moved by Councillor Crabtree and seconded by Councillor Kenny that the council adjourn the regular meeting of April 4th, 2023 at 6:35 p.m. until April 18th, 2023 at 6 p.m. or the call of the chair. All in favor? That's carried. Just give us a minute. We will move over to our committee of the whole meeting. Welcome back, folks. So we're going to move to our committee of the whole. So we will open the meeting and we will start with our land acknowledgement. The council and staff of the Township of Montague acknowledge that the sacred land on which the Township of Montague is now located and this meeting is being held is the ancestral and unceded territory of the Algonquin and Shawnee Nation. So the first part would be, to move by Councillor Abbas and seconded by Councillor Crabtree that the committee of the whole agenda dated April 4th, 2023 be approved as presented. All in favor? That's carried. We have no disclosures of interests, no delegations, and our first report of municipal officers is Ms. Kirsten with the reduced lot sizes of chickens. Take it away, Kirsten.
Thank you. Okay, thank you, Chair. Good evening, Council, members of the public. The report that you have before you this evening stems from direction from Council for staff to research what bylaws other municipalities have in place with respect to reduced lot sizes for chickens. The Township of Beckwith, Town of Carleton Place, and Township of Drummond North Elmsley have such bylaws in place. I would at this time just like to make a comment that Lanark County Planning department heads are, absolutely amazing for responding to these requests, and you send an inquiry out to someone and you get rapid fire email responses back from everyone. So I just wanted to point that out, that it's a very good network that's available to municipal planning staff. So with respect to this report, there is reference to legislative and policy review included in this report. And one of the things that I wanted to emphasize is that these decisions related to livestock, they are not lower tier decisions. They do actually stem from provincial policy and sort of trickle down to lower tier municipalities. So there's two options in the report that I have set out. One of them is if council would like to address commencement of a general amendment to the zoning bylaw to permit reduced lot sizes for chickens, or if they would like to accept this report for information.
Thank you, Kirsten. I think this is a good piece of information, and I think this is a can of worms. So when we open it, we're going to get a lot of feedback from. So I don't think, in my opinion, rushing to any decision. And I think also Reeve Jennings probably wants to be part of this discussion too as well. So I don't know if it's better to receive it as information for now, to bring it back in the first meeting maybe in May, or if it's something better to defer. What would be the better option for doing something like that, if that was acceptable from all of council?
So if council would like to defer to the May 2nd meeting, we can pass a motion. If you want us to bring it back May 2nd.
So I kind of bring that up, and it gives sort of a month to as well of maybe from hearing, as this kind of gets out there and people kind of hear about it, it'll give a little bit of time for us to get feedback, for the staff to get feedback, for all of us to hear, to be part of that discussion too as well. And then we can kind of go through that and make sure that we're just making sure that we're getting all the information we need. Is there anything, does council agree with that as far as that goes? Yes.
I agree with Deputy Carroll. I've been getting some feedback from a lot of people on positives, negatives on both aspects. I do believe that we need more information. I do think that we do need more time. And I do think the public need to be, I know it's one of the options in this, that if we are to go through with this, that their voices be heard both on the positive end and on the negative end, so that we can come to a clear, concise ideology on what we're going to do moving forward one way or the other. So I do agree.
Yeah.
Question, with the township of Beckwith and Carlton Place and Drummond having this in place, how long has it been in place in these three? I may have missed it, I did read it.
No, I don't
may have-
believe that the date that those bylaws came into effect was noted in the report. My recollection is that I believe Drummond, North Elmsley, and Beckwith has been 10+ years, and Carlton Place actually came into effect in 2021. So it's pretty recent.
I do have one more question.
Sure.
Do we have, I see the location of the lot sizes. Do we have their policies on how they allow, or how they, for lack of a better word, police the way it's done? So like, that being said, our bylaw is on an on-call basis. So I'm just wondering, is it, they ask for a permit? Are they, like, how is that, do we know that information?
We do. So the Township of Beckwith and Drummond North Elmsley basically have a blurb within their zoning bylaw that addresses backyard hen coops. Whereas the town of Carlton Place has a very comprehensive bylaw that includes everything from licensing with a fee and a requirement for an annual renewal of that license. And that bylaw, I'm going to say it's probably 8 pages long. It's very comprehensive, and it does have provisions in there with respect to animal control.
So there is a way that if we were going to go through with this, and I'm just putting this out there for people that are listening or people that are going to look at this later on, there's a way we could, like, if we were going to implement this, we could make it so that every year they have an inspection, make sure that they're doing their due diligence. Otherwise, their chickens would be removed or have to follow or adhere to a certain bylaw.
I think we would probably approach it similar to Drummond, North Elmsley, or Beckwith, right? We're not a town like Carlton Place is. So I'd like to learn more about how these two townships approach it, because I think we're very different from like a town like Carlton Place, whereas these are two rural communities. So I'd like to see what they have.
Yes, Joe.
I see what you're saying, but it's all depending on what type of acreage that people bring it down to, and that's all.
Yeah.
That's why the Carlton Place is such a small one. So it's depending on, like, if you're saying we're bringing it down to 2.5 acres, I agree with you, and I can see where you're coming from. It's if we're going to allow places like Adironto. So, but anyways, this is all up for debate. This is.
I think that's the biggest thing, is just so we I mean, if we take a little bit of time and just make sure that we're implementing something that's right, and I think it'd be nice to have all perspectives brought into it too as well, because I agree with Councillor Kenny too as well. Like, we are more on that side of the township of Beckwith, and like, I'm sure Carlton Place does that because of this, like, they're doing it on a 0.08 of an acre, so it's a lot smaller. But I think that's the other point too, as well, is how do we address the woods or the Adirondack, or the smaller ones, or do we start? And I think that's where that discussion maybe can have, and also it's a good point for us to be able to talk about too as well, so.
Yeah, and I have one more
Sure.
thing that
Yeah,
if
go ahead.
if we can get later. Do we have, and maybe we already have this, but do we have sort of like a plotting of like lot sizes? So not like average lot size, but like median plotting of like, oh, there's 10% of the township is 0.5 of an acre, 15% is like, do we have any sort of existing? like,
Not
plot
that I'm
map?
aware of, but it doesn't mean it doesn't exist. I can always look into that and see if it's possible, maybe through GIS, and see if there's a way of narrowing that down.
Yeah, just to sort of get a sense of like what are the lot sizes we're looking at across the township.
Okay.
So just for my clarification, I don't know if Kirsten needs any, so we've been asked to bring back more information, so we were asked for address, how we'll deal with community like Adirondack, if it was to be included, because in this, I believe it was just a rural zoning, so that would exclude them, similar to burn permits, and we've been asked if we can bring back the average size of lots. Is there other information that council's looking to come back, for us to come back with?
Sorry, just to clarify, not average size, because I know we have some like very big lots, but like a plot graph. What's that, median?
So a certain percentage of our lots are
Yeah.
within this size.
Yeah, just sort
Okay.
of like a representation of like how we, like where we all land across the whole spectrum of lot sizes. 'Cause I think an average number won't give us the kind of information.
I mean, I think I see where you're going with that too as well, because anything that's bigger than 5 acres is a moot point, because you can already do that under our existing bylaws. So really, it's more like, so what are those smaller ones look like? Like how many are in that less than an acre size, because that we can get into that, and then what's that, maybe that acre to 3 acre size lot, and
Yeah.
then like narrow it down like that. Is that what, just to
Well, and
clarify
I'm,
for
yeah,
some?
and I'm really interested because I see like Beckwith has got 0.99 of an acre, and then Carlton Place has 0.08 of an acre. And I know that we, in here, there's a recommendation for 1 acre, and I'm sort of where this is coming from is I wonder how many properties fall into that, like just a scooch under an acre, like depending on how things have been severed and things like that. Is there, just what is that sort of number of those that are maybe just in that, like, 0.98 of an acre, because that's how it was severed, that would be interested and feel like they're just cut off from having it, but they still have a decent amount of property that it still would be reasonable. I know that then we get into a slippery slope, and then what about the people that are like 0.77 of it, or whatever? I know, like, I recognize that, which is why I just want to see it first before I go anywhere.
So we're talking about just rural properties or all properties?
It's a good question. Just rural?
Okay. I don't even know if we can pull it, but if we can.
Yeah, if
slide
it
on
doesn't
here.
exist, like, don't go on a manhunt for it. I'm just, yeah.
If there was, I mean, if, say, just kind of go along with Councilor Kenny's saying, if we made it 1 acre, if someone had a 0.95 acre lot, would they be able to come for, is it a flat out no, or is it like we're gonna bring that forth for an amendment or
A minor
a minor
variance.
variance for that, and say like this would make, okay.
So there would be an
We could-
opportunity
we
for
could
those that
discuss
really
that.
wanted it
That might
to.
just fall under that by a 0.05 of an acre, something that we could bring that discussion point
You
up.
get someone that's got one a little bit less. I think that's bad.
Yeah, well, that could be the discussion point too as well.
The neighbor's gonna have 0.91 of an acre and say, but my neighbor got it and he's got 0.95 of an acre.
Yeah,
Yeah, it'll be an interesting one, I think
which
that's
is why, yeah, I'd like to see what the numbers are that we're looking at, like,
Yeah.
it really could just be, it's like an acre and then it goes right down to, 0.7 of an acre anyways, so.
I made sure when I bought my house, well, because I wanted to have farmland and I wanted to be able to have chickens, I bought 5 acres. So I got 7.5.
Yeah.
So,
Okay, so that's the information that we're looking at coming back. Is there anything in addition to that?
I think that's good, eh? You have something else?
Oh, do you have something
I
else?
really have a habit of doing that.
No,
We're
it's
about to
okay.
end and then I've got something more. Can we just get the links maybe easier to where these blurbs are for the two townships?
Sure. Links to the bylaws?
Yeah,
Of course.
probably because you know where they are better than me searching around for them forever.
That's perfect.
Did I say one more
Anything
thing?
else?
No, I'm
Anything
done.
No, it's good. I think that's good. I think it'll give us this gives us a month too as well to get feedback, and we encourage that feedback too as well, and also to have hopefully all of us here at that point to have that sort of final discussion too as well. So is that good for staff or?
So if we're looking for feedback, I think we'll post something on social to ask people to provide feedback. I don't think we have received anything as of yet. So I think that we'll need to encourage people to provide feedback to us. So we will do something up.
I don't believe you'll get feedback until, like, actual feedback until they think it's actually gonna pass through.
I saw several posts on Facebook already this afternoon of Montague residents looking for 6 laying hens. So I think you'll get the feedback.
Yeah.
We're good, and also obviously if we have members of the public that are talking to us, or those posts that you might see, make sure that we're communicating that back to the staff so that they can also put that together, and we have we all have that, and we can kind of put together something that's there and really make a good discussion. Okay, perfect. All right.
So we're just going to
What are we gonna do here?
pen, yeah, no pencil.
Is it too late
It's never too late. I haven't read anything yet. What's up?
to add to that? Kirsten, I'm so sorry.
It's okay. I'm free.
I just know that there's also a lot of research around like the reduction in food waste when you have chickens and like other benefits beyond it. This report is great, but I think we're really looking at, and maybe it's somebody else that would have this information, but it's very like legal. And I think too that it would be nice to just have some of that sort of information on, that food waste reduction and the benefits of, fresh and local food and like easily accessible food, especially in a time of high inflation when things are so expensive for families. It'd be nice to have that sort of social side of the information as well. Now I'm done.
I don't know if I believe you, but that's okay.
I'm afraid to sit down.
I'm sorry.
It's all good.
I think that's a valid point too as well, because I think that's the major. Why do we have chickens? You have chickens.
I have
I have
chickens.
chickens. He has chickens.
Yep.
Why do we have chickens? We're just going to leave you out of this discussion. But I think a lot of that is because and we all are on bigger than 5 acres too as well. So we're in that. It's a moot point. But why do we have those chickens? Because we see the benefits of our fresh eggs. We see where some of our composting stuff can go. We get that, I think, for sure. It's just as we shrink it down, we want to make sure that those changes are just well communicated to all residents and everything else. So.
And so the residents too know the benefits when this opportunity arises, that they're like, oh, why would I want to do that? If they have an acre, and it's like, well, this is why. You might wanna...
Listen, I'm hatching some chicks in a classroom right now, and the excitement of kids wanting to take them home right now is that I'm like, well, unfortunately, it's as follows your bylaw states this, but it's but yes, you have chicks out there, and everybody gets excited and they want to have chickens, so I hear you. So moved by Councillor Crabtree and seconded by Councillor Kenny that council directs staff to bring an investigation of options for reduced lot sizes for chickens to the May 2nd or May 16th committee of the whole meeting. All in favor? Beautiful. Now we're going to talk about some garbage. So Stephen is going to be here to talk about that.
Thank you, Chair. So with the discussion of food waste, here brings on some waste collection and large item discussion. So the recommendation by staff is to be directed to schedule June large item pickup day and schedule one for the fall in October with a 2-tag system, and then having this occur regularly so that we can communicate this with residents. And then obviously that would cause staff to have to amend the waste bylaw, which was passed last year. So this all comes back to 2022 when we switched from large item drop-off day to large item collection day. And council really wanted to see at that time what these numbers looked like and to be more accessible for residents that didn't have half tons, weren't able to get their large items out. This came in with a user fee structure to it, which was 4 tags at $3, so $12 a item to dispose of at your driveway. We had 81 items last year with 81 pounds average. Revenue was $900 and the total cost of the township was $1,000 on this program. So covered costs about 50%. It was a lower turnout than expected just due to past input that people really want to see this type of thing. So in doing so, staff has provided a couple options. The one that was previously stated that was recommended is to reduce to a 2 tag per large item collection. So this would be reducing from $12 to $6. And the idea here for numbers would be basically council would be providing this collection to each resident in the operating budget. And then the remaining $6 would be covering the disposal. So if you would like to get rid of something, you are paying to dispose of that item. We heard from many residents, pros and cons from the $12, that there was quite a few that felt it was quite expensive, and others thought it was just money well spent to get it out of their hair. The thinking with this as well is that this could help with property standards as well. There's a potential cost savings there if we're allowing people to dispose of their items at a lower cost than the fee currently implemented. And just for council information, if this was included in the yearly budget, it works out to about $1.42 per household currently, what that is eligible for this service. So just so that we see kind of what that would look like at a dollar value. Option 3 is a recommendation. So, I mean, some of the pros is this is going to be done twice a year and it will be occurring every year. So when new residents move in, they will know that we're always going to be doing this set schedule, and it's just going to become more frequent and allow residents, to be able to plan around this, as lately it's been very sporadic when these have been occurring. The feedback from the public has kind of wanted this kind of thing. And again, just hopefully this may help from households accumulating large amounts of potential stuff that may end up in our roadside ditches. So the costing on these is on the final page, and basically for option 1, which would be just going forward with one collection and then myself reporting back to you guys, we're looking at a cost of about $2,000, and there was $4,000 included in the 2023 budget for this. Option 2 is remaining status quo. It would be $1,400 would be the total, with revenue taken into account for that, with a surplus of $25 in the budget. And then option 3, which is recommended, would be 2 events, and then it would leave a total surplus of $152. This again is based on myself just kind of forecasting what the previous event is. If we have more people partake in this, we're obviously going to collect a bit more money, and this is kind of where we'll end up, is probably a bit more revenue on this side of things. But we do have room for option 3 at this point to hold the 2 events. Questions?
Thank you, Stephen. I think, this was a change that obviously that was done, over the last year. I think it's been obviously makes it more accessible for a lot of people, and also brings us into the times that this is what most municipalities have converted to, as the drop-offs are kind of went by the dodo, and most are picking up, which makes it a lot better. And I think as we go through this a little bit more, we're going to be able to clean it up, and I think that's what we're doing this year now, is they're starting to show a cleanup, and I think that's a good job, Steve, by what you're suggesting. So on that note, if there's any questions from council at all as far as that goes, yeah, John?
I think excellent report on what you did there, and you talked to people. I like the option that you picked.
I'd like to say I did consult with our clerk administrator. She provided input as well, so there is some kudos there as well.
Yes.
Joint effort.
Yes.
Any other comments at all, or? I think it's great. I think we're going to, like I said, I think we're going to see growth as the years go on this, and I wouldn't be surprised in a few years from now we're having 3 or 4 large item pickup days, because we see that some municipalities have them every month. I think it's one of those things as people realize what it is, and also now making it I mean, I like the way that you're able to crunch the numbers to see how we can get the best bang for the buck and make it, you know, it's gonna help with that property standards if we can get people to fish out some of those things that they don't have a way of getting rid of. I think we're gonna start to see a little bit of cleanup, so I think that's great. So on that note, it sounds like we like option 3, which is fantastic. So we had that moved by Councillor Kenny and seconded by Councillor Abbas, that staff be directed to schedule the June large item pickup day and schedule a large item pickup day for October 2023 with a 2-day system for both the scheduled pickups. And the staff be directed to schedule the same weeks in the 2024 year to begin an annual service that more of our residents will become familiar with and utilize. And the council will direct staff to amend the waste bylaw to include the change in service. And I think that's a good point too, as well as that if we keep it consistent, then that's where it'll be regularized. So all in favor? Thank you. That's carried. Steven's not going anywhere. He's going to talk about the holiday waste.
Thank you, Chair. So this report, it's one of the shorter ones I've put forward to you guys. It's more or less, we've heard feedback that a lot of residents are putting out 1 bag per week. You know, and there's the odd time, like the holiday season, for instance, where they have family over and they're going to accumulate a bit more waste. And they have kind of asked, you know, how do we get rid of that without being penalized for, you know, being proactive and only getting rid of 1 bag, you know, 51 weeks out of the year, but that 1 week we have a bit more. So staff has kind of looked into different ways and what different municipalities are doing. So there's many in Lander County, such as Carleton Place. So they have the same structure, 2 unstickered bags right now. They increase it to 3 unstickered bags for 1 week between December 26th and July 1st, or January 1st, sorry. Correction. And that just allows residents to put that extra bag out. Usually the municipal office is closed around that time as well. So it just creates ease for everybody to, you know, get rid of their waste. And it's 1 week out of the year. So I provided some numbers, and these are very high end numbers, as we really don't have any numbers on that. So, you know, we're looking at roughly high end would be $1,000 on the budget. And that's if everybody hits the maximum on the weight, which is 33 pounds. If you can get that in a standard garbage bag, it's impressive. So, I mean, that's what those numbers are based on, but it should be far less than that.
Thanks, Steve. I think that's it. Yeah, I think that's a good way of mediating that time of the year too, as well. Because you're right, a lot of people are putting out 1 garbage bag, and then that's when they're going to need more. So, and it's a small value to our overall budget, and it's the right service. So, any questions from council at all, or comments? Good. Council, good. Yeah, perfect. So moved by Councillor Abbas and seconded by Councillor Crabtree that council directs staff to amend bylaw 3832-2022 to allow residents to set out 3 untagged tags. So a bag, okay, tags. Yeah, it's all good. Between December 26th and December 31st on their collection day of each year. All in favor? It's carried. So our next one, Allison will take for a tax write-off.
Thank you, Chair. So under the Municipal Act, Section 357 is the write-off of taxes based on a number of items. The item presented this evening is a fire. So there was a fire in December at a location at that roll number where they lost a garage. So MPAC has provided, staff is proactive, the fire chief advises the treasurer then goes ahead and completes the 357 for anybody who's had fire, because they're already dealing with enough with having that event happen. So we file it for them. So we filed it for this individual. We've gotten it back from MPAC stating what the assessed value of the garage was, which you see is $18,000, and a reduction in taxes for the value of that garage from the date of the fire until current. If the individual decides to rebuild, they get a building permit, and then when MPAC assesses it, it comes back on, but until that time it's removed. So we have to get approval by council to approve the Section 357 write-off. You see in front of you this evening, it's not substantial. The municipal levy portion is $147.67, and it is recommended that the council approve it.
Thank you, Allison. thank you, Miles, for looking out for our residents, A, by your guys making sure that you're dealing with the fires when they happen, and then B, making sure that that homeowner is taken care of the best that we can at the municipal level, and Allison, obviously, for making sure that it's done quickly to do the little bit that we can in that sense. So the big part, obviously, making sure that we're putting out the fire, and the little part on this side too as well. So, is there any questions at all from council as far as that goes? That's good. Yes.
Will they also receive a reduction from the county portion?
Yeah, so it's, sorry, Chair, through you. So the reduction is, the total reduction is $253.11. So that's county, school board, and us. The only impact for us is the $147.67, but they get a reduction in all three.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great question. Any other questions?
Are they aware that this is like in process and happening, and they will be receiving this?
So we did advise them, and Miles, or our fire chief, is really good usually to indicate to people on a scene even that we will look after this side of it for them, so they're aware that we go ahead and do the application on their behalf and sign. So these individuals are well aware that we did it.
Okay.
Yep.
That's great.
I know you're looking at me. No, now I'm done. I'm good.
It's not you, Morgan.
That's good. Well, those are great questions too as well, and I think it just, once again, just exemplifies Chief Career doing an exceptional job of making sure that he's taking care of the residents right out of the gates right when that happens. So that's great. So moved by Councillor Crabtree and seconded by Councillor Kenny. The staff be directed to proceed with the cancellation, reduction, or refund of taxes pursuant of the provisions of the Municipal Act in the amount of $252.11, and charge the municipal portion of $147.67 to the municipal levy write-off account 110-125-4010. All in favor? That's carried. Thank you. So this is from Alice. I've never seen one of these before, which with our calendar year for the meetings we had. So take it away.
Thank you, Chair. So this is not legislated to provide to council. Just staff feel as a transparent, to be transparent to the public on how many regular meetings, special meetings, and in-camera meetings we've held throughout the year. It's a good information report to bring forward to council and the public to see, what kind of a job we're doing, and if people feel that we're in camera a lot or not, kind of putting that number out there. So for 2022, we did have 19 regular meetings, 8 special, and 12 in camera, with the majority of the in camera being the interviewing and hiring of the clerk administrator position. We had some IT upgrade discussions, and obviously you're always going to have your staff performance appraisals and things like that. So we had limited numbers of in camera. Our special meetings, again, we discussed potentially a new building and things like that. So all in all, I think that 2022 was a pretty straightforward year. I did put 2021 calendar year in. I wasn't sure if council had received any kind of information, but this is strictly for information. I just think it's a good transparency type of information report.
Yeah, thank you, Alison. I think it is interesting just to see what the total meetings were and everything else. And I mean, I know for myself, for the in camera, I don't take lightly when we go into in camera, and it's for the right reasons we do that. So, and I think Alison explained that why it looks like there's so many, but when you narrow off a couple of those things right there, it answers a lot of questions. So, any questions from council at all? We're good for that. Sounds good. So moved by Councillor Kenny and seconded by Councillor Abbas that council accepts the overview of council meetings held in the 2022 year report as information. All in favor? That's carried. Next, Allison's going to talk about the proposal from the Forget Me Not Club about the crosswalk.
Thank you, Chair. So we were approached from members of the Forget Me Not, by a member of the Forget Me Nots, and also the MRCC has brought it up in previous discussions as well. The crossing from the Forget Me Nots property over to Rosedale Hall, and kind of as far as safety and being able to see from both directions when crossing. So it was brought forward a request. Actually, it was just to donate a culvert, but because we're getting the new parking lot. We wanted to ensure that this would get done prior to the asphalt going down and that, you know, nothing happened as far as our brand new asphalt. So the Public Works Manager and I discussed, and we thought it might be beneficial to bring forward to council to just do the project through the Public Works Department. So we did follow up with county just to make sure that we had approval from the county for what was going to be happening. So I believe there are stakes there right now, but I think the county has approved our second driveway at Rosedale, not the one
In the middle.
I'm terrible with directions, Steve. Our driveway closest to the play structure. So you're going to cross from the forget-me-nots over. Public Works has stated they will do a like limestone or a crusher stone type pathway to their parking lot to make it easy and accessible as well if we need to. We'll work with the forget-me-nots to get this done. But it is recommended, and the county's going to put up elderly person crossing signs there as well. It's already a 60-kilometer road, so it is a reduced speed. As I said, it is recommended that we as the township, you know, take this on and work in conjunction with the forget-me-nots and the county and MRCC to do this, because we are starting to work together on a number of events, and they're always good enough to share their parking lot with us and things like that. So we'd like to make sure that it's a safer option for those times when we are sharing parking spaces or holding events together.
Thank you, Allison. I mean, I think this is great to, and I think this is also showing the good changes of the time that we're able to bridge the two halls sort of together, and we're seeing a lot more collaboration and working together, which I think is just, it's just nice to see that. It's nice to see that we're that positive side of things, that we're working together, that we can do this. And I think that when there's something going on in the Forget Me Not Club, we need more parking on one side or vice versa. I think it's just as a it's good to see. I think we're moving in the right direction in this township in a very positive way. So I mean, I think support idea. I like the idea, maybe even moving it down where those stakes were too as well, just because it makes it a little bit more visible, because it's going to kind of come over that towards it from the north side to the south side. It might just give you a little bit more visible. So anyways, that's sort of my thoughts. I think this is great. This is kind of coming together, and kudos to the staff for stepping up, obviously, too, as well, saying, hey, we want to make sure we help with this too as well. I think we're all on the same page, so I think that's great. So if there's any questions, I'm gonna go to Jim.
No, I agree with you 100%. I think it's a super thing to do to get the two together. I was just wondering, and I just thought I'd throw it out when we're doing this, would it be possible, since it's only 10 or 15 feet wide there, and it's only gonna be a short distance, is it something that we should look at, just that one section, paving it? So when people come across, you get a senior citizen and they don't
On the Forget Me Not side, you mean? Like where?
Well, our side for sure, and you know, if I don't know how expensive it would be, I don't know exactly if it's 30 feet we're doing by 10 feet or something, but it would be much easier to walk across pavement than it certainly would be crush your dust and stone. It's just a thought.
So our side will be pavement, because where the county has approved, it's going to be coming across to our second entry, our driveway. So that will all be paved. As far as the other side, I don't know if we haven't spoken to the county about any kind of paving. I think that we can start with the crusher stone and see, you know, and see how that works out, and things like that. But I'm not saying that it can't be in the future.
But our side, the one side.
Will be paved, and the thing is so the county has approved it to go into our second laneway, and again, where the stakes are, if we were to put it there with our new parking as well, because we're getting rid of that bit of green space in the front, we'd have to then have a walking path through two probably parking spaces, and we pave that grass to try and get more parking spaces. So I think it might be potentially an issue, but the county has approved it to come into our second laneway across the Forget-Me-Not to the Forget-Me-Nots property.
So one question, if we're doing it that way, is that something that could be mentioned then to the seniors, that if they were looking at doing it, it could be done at the same time that we're paving our lot, if they wanted to do their part? I'm just saying we could throw it out there. I maybe they don't want to do it, but maybe they might say, well, maybe we should do it. It comes down to the driveway, and
Absolutely.
It's just something we could mention anyways.
I think if staff,
Yeah.
when they're having the discussion with the representative from the Forget Me Not Club, to see how we can work it out, right? So I mean, and we'll see what that looks like. I think it'd be great. Yeah,
Just when the paving's there, it'd be a lot cheaper than.
Yeah, and when it's already
Be all
there,
done.
it could be there. So I think Steve would also obviously want to make it as best as possible. So I think that's a great suggestion. And Steve's nodding his head yes, and he's listening, so that's fantastic. So it's so it's good. So like we make no promises, obviously, but I mean I think this is good. That's a great question. I think to see what we can do for that too as well. So any other questions? Any other questions at all? Or that's great, folks. That's good. So moved by Councillor Abbas and seconded by Councillor Crabtree. The council approved the completion of the work to install the crossing area that will allow pedestrians a safer location to cross Roselle Road South from the Roselle Hall property to the Forget Me Nots Club, or property, sorry. All in favor? It's carried. The next one is the climate change or climate action working group. Allison.
Thank you, Chair. So at the meeting of February 21st, it came forward that the county was requesting if the township had any interest in appointing somebody to their Lanark County Climate Action Working Group. At that time, staff was requested to post to see if there was public interest. We have not to date received any public interest in sitting on the committee or working group. So at this time, we're just kind of looking for direction if there's any council members that would like to sit on. Otherwise, we will advise the county that the township will have a member.
Yeah, so I mean, I guess we put it out there to see if we have members of our community interested in being on that committee. It'd be nice to have a representative on that committee. I think at this point, I think we can leave it open though to see if we have any interested parties that might come forward. If there's any suggestions from council, I mean, I'd be open for them. Not seeing any, so I think it's just one of those things where there is representatives. I'm going to talk to our county reps just to see if every municipality's being representative and who they are, just to see. I mean, that working group basically advises to the county whenever there's a discussion point of something that's going on. They would give their input sort of on the climate lens. Like, so, I mean, if we're replacing, one of the most controversial things in the county right now was the changing of the heat pumps, but we're not doing heat pumps and putting in the natural gas furnaces instead. So they had their input side of it of why we should go with maybe a certain direction, which can be helpful too as well. So, but if we have no sort of options right now, I guess we'll advise the county that we just don't have a representative right now, but we'll keep it open to anybody that might step forward and be interested in that. Does that sound helpful, I guess, right for right now? Okay. That's what this is. Yeah. Okay. So moved by Councillor Crabtree and seconded by Councillor Kenny that council accepts the report's information and the council direct the clerk administrator to advise the county of the member to sit on the group of the township for the township of Montague. All in favor? It's carried. We're gonna move into some renovations now, so Allison can take that away too.
Thank you, Chair. So this evening, in front of you is discussion on ISIP funding that was received, or not received, but back in 2020, I believe. The province and federal government put together ISIP COVID funding that every municipality would basically get $100,000. Just had to tell them what kind of capital infrastructure you were using it on. So at that time, the township put forward for the roof on the front, and if there was any funding left, they would do some windows. So the roof was originally, the thought was to make it a peaked roof as opposed to a flat roof. The cost was astronomical, so they fixed the flat roof for about $20,000 and the water damage in here that was caused by the roof. And we replaced the windows in the fall. So we've used about $40,000 out of the $100,000. We have put in a request for the additional $60,000 for new flooring and accessible doors and all new other man doors or people doors in the building. And right now, we've been advised that it'll be at least 6 months by the time the province and the federal government approves the change of scope from our transfer payment agreement. Other municipalities said they've been waiting 9 months plus for a change. So in that time, in the 2022 budget, there was also funding that was received through COVID, that municipalities got 3 different payments of COVID funding. There was still 40,000 remaining to be utilized. In the 2022 budget, the treasurer at the time had put that forward for the roof. That should have been ISIP. So we actually still have 40,000 of COVID monies available as well at the end of 2022 year end. So this evening, we are recommending to go forward in putting in an accessible door at the front of this office and over at Rosedale Hall, as well as it's a community space and being utilized a lot, as well as changing the 32-year-old carpet in the office for air quality in here as well. So you will see in the funds that in the event that ISIP does not approve the change in transfer payment agreement, which I don't anticipate, it's just the time frames, we would use the COVID funding of the 40,000 to offset the costs. When they approve the transfer payment agreement, we would use that 60 to pay for the flooring, pay for the accessible doors, replace that door, the back side door, with an accessible door as well, and replace the other man doors, people doors, whatever we call them now. So as well in the building, and then we would have the 40,000 in COVID funding to potentially be used on something else. We're bringing this forward just due to it could take substantial time to even get the accessible doors or the openers. Last fall it was 8 weeks, I believe, and then to get installation because contractors are very busy. So we're recommending moving forward, getting this going. The flooring will be in stages as well because we'll have to move out full offices. They'll have to do a room, move out full offices, they'll do a room, those type of things. It's recommended that we go ahead and advance the projects so that we're not delayed. The funding is there either through one of the streams that we have available to us to move forward and advance these projects.
Well said. I think that's, it's good that this is money that's coming not from our tax levy. I think that's an important part too as well. These are great funds that we're getting that we're utilizing to fix some of the shambles of our buildings. So I think that's a very positive thing. So on that note, I might have some other points, but I'll open up to council if there's any questions. Yes, Councilor Kenney.
The COVID funding, is there a time limit on when when they'd like us to use that by? Like how long we can carry it forward for?
December 31st, 2022.
Should have been spent.
Yeah, that's what I figured. I was like, I'm surprised to hear that we're still carrying this forward. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's why we want to get it used.
Okay, so if we use it though, and then they approve the change in the transfer payment, and then we go and use the ISED funding, are we not back in the same situation where we still have this COVID funding that we really have to get through and report back on?
But we will, yeah.
So I have other plans already in place that we'll have pricing for to use it right away.
Okay, good. Yeah, because the change in the transfer payment scope there will take a long time.
Yeah.
But we have no shortage of the usage of that money to fix up some of the things, especially even at Rosedale Hall too as well. I think that's a big part of it.
And yeah, sorry, just do that. So staff will already proactively have quotes, have pricing, be ready to jump on that and get it completed. Yeah.
Any other questions from council at all? No?
I think it's great that you're hitting the nail on the head of the government and doing the accessibility thing and really making Rosedale Hall that much better of a place to be, especially since, like you said, it's getting rented out and being booked up, and so I think it's awesome.
And we have to get there for that too as well. So this is a way to do it with funding, which is nice. On a side note, are we looking at like sort of a fob system with that too as well, or is that sort of a side note, or as we go?
Yes, so the Public Works Manager actually has already received pricing on the fob system. So we would be looking for that, because we would be looking for the staff door here once the time comes that we change that out as well, that we would be to fobs as opposed to the keys. And for the community center, the fob system, so when people rent, they can come, we can obviously set up their fob and then remove the access at the end of their rental period. So we would be looking at all those things. Some of those though, there is some funding and grants available to that too. But now that we have Wi-Fi that has been steadily working over there, we definitely are looking at those things.
Perfect. So we're moving onwards and upwards with that, so that's fantastic. So, any other questions from council at all as far as that goes? That's fantastic, yeah. Right. So moved by Councillor Kenny and seconded by Councillor Abbas. The council approve the permanent installation of flooring throughout the township office that's presented at this date. And the accessible doors for the entrance of Rosedale Hall and the township office be purchased and installed prior to the change to the ICIP transfer payment agreement, and that council approved the use of the remaining $40,000 from COVID funds to complete the project that is currently sitting in the contingency reserve at year end 2022. All in favor? That is easily passed. So at this point, we are getting near the end, folks. So there's no reports of committees, there's no petitions, no motions or notices of motions, there's no unfinished business. Before we adjourn, do we have any burning questions from the audience? Yes, Mr.
Just to
Dolan.
have a clear understanding of the walkway proposal, is it still gonna be built where the stakes were put, or is there a different location?
So I can take that. So, so the walkway on the township side will be on the driveway or the parking entrance closest to the play structure. That's where the county would like for an access point. So where it is on the other side, I think we can discuss with the forget-me-nots on kind of the location, and if they need potentially some sod removed and a walking path made, we will also assist with that.
Okay, because when I was speaking with the county, I mentioned going directly across the road versus going down the road on an angle, which would increase the crossing distance rather than the straight direct decision. I'm just wondering why they switched to go back down to the lower end driveway.
Yeah, so I mean, the staff perspective from Montague Township was using the southern entrance. We're not using any parking spaces. As well, the township is currently donating the culvert, so instead of 2 culverts, we're getting down to 1, and the material for infilling the ditch is produced. With that as well, the sight line on heading to the northern entrance is reduced coming around that corner. So we do gain about 30 to 40 meters extra of stopping distance when people do come over that blind corner. So although the county has agreed that it could be done, I think safety of our residents is best to use this southern entrance just for risk management is really the basin that comes there. And all works will be included, so whether there's a slight L on the forget-me-not side, we have included that will be done on our behalf, and on the paving idea, we can definitely have that discussion moving forward as well.
Thank you. I just was curious as to why they wanted to change the angle, because when you look at the idea of making the crosswalk to be safer crossing the road rather than increase the distance for crossing the road, if you shorten the distance and reduce the
yeah, so I think
possible
that's exactly what's going on. So it won't be angled, it'll be a 90-degree to the road, and the distance will be
I think that's true.
that's right.
I ask you where your suggestion to go, because I would originally recommend going to where the upright sign is that's there across, but that'll work.
That's good.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
Okay.
Like almost the front of the forget-me-not club, like to our second part.
But we will work with our forget-me-not member to, we can measure out, yeah, and we can measure out to see what the cost would be from the company that's doing the asphalt paving too.
Okay, and can I get a copy of this?
You can have that.
Cheers, it's yours.
And I would just like to comment, Deputy Reed, to express on behalf of the Forget-Me-Not Club the thanks and appreciation of the cooperation and assistance that I, as a member that brought it forward, have received from both the clerk administrator and our road superintendent. I feel that sure the club will be pleased with as well.
It's wonderful to hear. We are quite pleased with what our staff does for us. And I think that's good to hear from the public that how well they work with the staff too as well. So thank you for that comment. That's very nice. Any other comments from the audience? Yes, Maggie.
I have a question about the large item collection.
Sure.
According to this, it cost us $2,000. We sold the thingamabobs for $970. So we lost $1,000, right? And now you want to decrease the tags to 2? Aren't we going to lose more?
So originally, whenever this was brought forward, the intent was from council, they thought it would be a user fee service, similar to water. So only the people who are utilizing it would pay for it, but the truck is traveling the entire township and everybody has access to that service. So what staff is bringing forward is saying, if the truck is driving around the entire township, that it would be included just like household garbage is included in your taxes, that $4,000 is budgeted for large item pickup. You would pay as far as a user fee, would be the $6 to put on each of your items that's going to pay for the disposal at GIM, because all of the township shouldn't pay for your tonnage of your large items at GIM. But as far as the truck going around, it's going to be a service that is available to everyone. It's just whether they choose to purchase the $6 to pay for the disposal fee of their items. So instead of it being a full user fee service, what council and what staff is recommending to council is that it's now going to be a service that we provide to residents to ensure, because I know that this council and staff want to ensure that people can stay in their homes, that they have access to services like the public works manager had stated, who don't have trucks, don't have trailers, and maybe don't have family members that have those items. So I think it works out to about $1.25 per house, something along those lines per year, to have that service, where it would cost a lot more than that to rent a truck or a trailer to remove the items.
But it's the same truck that picks up the garbage going down the road that picks up the large?
No, so it's a separate truck hired for just large item pickup. Same company, but they're not picking up household garbage and doing that the same day. These are special days.
So isn't the public paying to get that person's big items picked up and they're not putting out any?
So the person but it's available to everyone. It's no different than school taxes and things like that. So you maybe won't use that service if you have a truck, but it's accessible to you if someday you don't have a truck. So we have to think that you could say that for any service that we provide. You may be fortunate enough to never use fire. You may be fortunate enough to never use the paramedics out of your county services, but they're available to you. And that's what we're doing with this service as well. You may never use it, like recreation. You may never use it, but it's there and it's out of the budget that everyone's paying for.
But the budget is not going to increase for everybody. Not the budget, the taxes for garbage.
No,
is not going to increase any.
No.
Thank you.
Questions? Any online questions at all? No burning online questions?
Sweet.
Awesome.
Nope, no questions.
Perfect. All right. So I guess that's the end of our meeting. So moved by Councillor Abbas and seconded by Councillor Crabtree, that the committee of the whole meeting for April 4th, 2023 now be adjourned at 7:33 p.m. All in favor? That is carried. Thank you, everyone, for tonight and all your great questions. And a nice, good meeting, good discussion. We'll see you all again in 2 weeks.